according to the plan that had been laid out and presented to the police, it was supposed to be a picket.
Yeah.
The organizers had offered to educate people who would participate that they would be of good behavior. They had guaranteed that they would start dispersing by 9 p.m. The location that they wanted to picket was the Jubilee House area. The police, in response, had said, that is a security zone, I'll deal with that matter in a bit, and had offered as an alternative the Independence Square.
Okay.
Organizers, Democracy Hub, had said the Independence Square is, again, an obscure location, and it takes away from the message they are trying to send. It's not just about gathering, it's about sending a message, it's about symbolism as well.
Yeah.
So if you decide that we can't be at point A, have to be at point B, it changes what
okay.
we are trying to do, the impact of what we're trying to do. So that was what was supposed to happen yesterday. So it happened. And then the police, based on their application for an injunction, and that has not been heard yet.
Yes.
Still,
according to point 5 of their own statement.
categorized yesterday's assembly as illegal. And so went in to arrest the citizens who showed up. So that is what happened yesterday. My take on this is this. The police need to understand something. And state agencies need to understand something. Security agencies need to understand something. The governments, this one and any other one that will come after it also, needs to understand something. The democracy that we all claim, and we make a lot of claims on the health of democracy and how democracy is not just, you see, and that's the conversation we were having just a few days ago. Democracy is not about the ballot box. Democracy is not always polite. Democracy is disruptive. Okay? What we have not been able to do, and the orientation and the growth of our democracy, as citizens seem to be growing in the democracy and understanding it better and fine-tuning it to their realities, what we have is state institutions, security agencies, and governments who tend not to understand this growth and tend to find ways to stifle this growth. Okay. Participation by ordinary people is the lifeblood of every healthy society.
Participation by ordinary people.
Yes. It's the lifeblood of every healthy society. We need it. It ensures that the government is accountable, well-informed, and knows the needs of the people. And the people can only then hope that the government is then responsive to these needs. So it's not just about every 4 years we will line up and vote, and then you say that is democracy.
No.
That is not it for people. And people have come to understand these things far better. So it makes it troubling that in this democracy that we practice, most of the time you have incidents where almost every proposal to stage a protest, a demonstration, or a picket is met, first of all, with an injunction. Okay, the Public Order Act 491 is very clear on what needs to happen. The Constitution guarantees the right to demonstrate. The Public Order Act provides the arena for it, but it does not take away the right. But what has happened is the scope of that law, okay, is being used in a certain way that tends to inhibit the exhibition or the manifestation of citizens' right to be active participants, to voice out. So, if we were to do a simple Google search, and we're all journalists and people also, 8 out of 10 requests to protest are met by, we cannot allow you at this time, do it at this time, do it here. Okay, so you most often than not find the police coming up with excuses as to why you cannot protest on this day and that day. the understanding of it. So, for instance, yesterday the citizens, because it was Kwame Nkrumah Memorial
Yeah.
Day. It's a very symbolic day for
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Symbolism is part of protest. The police must understand that. Somebody must say it is not their business to understand what symbols and those things are, but it is actually their business. It is actually their business to understand that this is how citizens deal with these issues. So once it becomes a back and forth of every time citizens want to voice out, let's go to court because I want you to do it my way. You cannot tell people how to protest. You can guide how they protest, but as to how they'll voice it out and whatnot. And the security zone bit, it's a very popular excuse.
Yeah.
What are the designated security zones in this country?
Okay.
See, the reason why I'm asking this is, it is fair to say the Jubilee House is a security zone, right? It is fair to say the Jubilee House is a security zone. Which part of it is a security zone? The back entrance, which is where everybody uses.
Yes. Usually where you find the
barricades.
The barricades.
There are 4 to 5 different levels of barricades before you can get in. It is quite clear it's a security zone. The front of it is one of the busiest streets or roads in this country. Which security zone has that level of traffic? It's a very public road.
Yes.
Across the street, directly opposite the Jubilee House, is Christ the King Church.
Yes, there's a church there.
50 meters from the gate of the Jubilee House to the junction are 3 clubs and a drinking spot, 2 restaurants, a TV station. Down the road behind it are residential blocks. On the right side of Jubilee House sits the Armed Forces Basic School, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Plus officers' mess and whatnots. The entire Jubilee House area is in a very public space. So the classification of it's a security zone, it is not a security zone, at what point does that come in? You see, because if an area, I'll tell you what a security zone is, in my estimation. So, you know, when you get to the build up to Burma camp, nobody will tell you you're entering a security zone. Nobody will tell you. Okay. If you are driving, if you are new, and you are driving from 37 up the road, if you don't know Ghana, there is nothing that tells you you are entering a security zone.
Okay.
Security zones are secure. They are protected. The walls of the Jubilee House are secure to keep the Jubilee House safe in there. But I'm saying the space in front of it is public usage. So how do you classify a space that is daily public usage, in fact, high public usage, as a security zone? And it has that kind of traffic. For me, it's a bit contradictory. So they might need to classify properly, the police, what a security zone is then. You understand? So I asked myself, so the Bank of Ghana, is it a security zone?
The one on the high street.
The high street, is it a security zone? Which part? The court is right next door. Behind it is the public library. Next door is the busiest market in the central business district.
And there's a street that
Kwame
passes.
Nkrumah Mausoleum is opposite it. Yesterday, there were 1 million cars parked right in front of on both curbs. So, which security zone does that happen in? When does the security become an issue then? I hope you get what I'm driving at.
I get
so
you completely.
we cannot be calling places certain things, but the functions and daily use of those places don't reflect it. People say they want to do certain things in those places, and suddenly your excuse to deny is that, well, this place is that kind of place. Which is what causes some of these things. Okay, but finally for me, the most important part is a change in orientation, by our security agencies
Yes.
in understanding their role in democracy, in a democratic society. Their role is not regime security. It is public security. Their definition of it, their description of it, the scope of it, perhaps they might feel is different.
Okay.
But what you have when citizens are unable, feel constrained, feel constricted to speak their minds, to express displeasure at the government based on what they perceive to be the basically support or assistance of security agencies, because that is how they will perceive it. You might think you're doing your job, but they say you are getting in my way of voicing out. You're an accomplice to this. Once you start denying them that and it becomes a regular feature, you are not helping grow democracy. So I understand the almost consistent use of the Public Order Act. Yesterday I saw people who are saying repeal the Public Order Act. I don't agree with that. The Public Order Act doesn't just deal with protest.
No.
It deals with a lot of other things.
A lot of other things, yes.
So you cannot just throw it away.
Else you'll be opening the door to all
Exactly.
kinds of problems.
But the nuance of democratic practice is something that our security agencies must learn. Okay, the nuance of it, which is why some democracies will tell you this is a picket space. There's a permanent, if you go to the White House, there's a permanent picket space.
So people can do what they want there.
You can, if you leave that space, you are in trouble. But if you want to protest, it is a very well-known area. You go and stand here. You can protest. You get your permit. You stand there for 3 days, do whatever it is you want to do, say what you want to say. Okay? But this consistent use overall, this consistent performance of as soon as citizens express an intention to voice out, the almost automatic retort is they'll go and misbehave. So, and that seems to be the retort, the thinking most of the time. Again, I'm not a security person, so somebody might say we are trained to think that things will go wrong. But the fact that things will go wrong does not mean that you can deny citizens that right. You cannot take it away. You see, you cannot reduce the citizenry to only polite
participation in democratic processes. Like you said,
You see, that's what I'm saying. That the police must understand that democracy is disruptive. It is loud at times. Those are the components of it. It is part of the strength of democracy. That citizens will be loud at a point. Suck it up. Guide them through it. But don't try and prevent them and say, this is this is that. That is the problem that we have. We should move beyond this automatic position of the security agencies in going to court as soon as somebody says, I have a protest. So, for instance, when the minority said they were going to protest at the Bank of Ghana,
yes.
They said the Bank of Ghana is a security zone. The same Bank of Ghana that I can go and work in front of 24/7. There's one soldier man sitting in front there with a gun and in a plastic chair.
Yeah. And people go in and out of the bank. They do transactions there.
No. You can't just get in and out. When you cross the gate, you know. But the point I'm making is, you cannot call it a security zone when the entire space up until the gate is open. And declare the other areas a security zone. I cannot do certain things beyond that gate. But security zones are restricted heavily. That is why they are called security zones. The restrictions happen once you cross the gate. Okay, but outside of it, if you've put the security zone, I'm saying that the classifications perhaps also are problematic because of the build-up and makeup of the city. You understand? So those are the things that they need to go through. But for me, the most important thing our security agencies and others need to learn, stop falling back on Act 491 the first 4 or 5 clauses of it to basically make it difficult for citizens to express themselves. The symbolism matters for people. If I want to protest at the president, I don't want to go and protest in Dansuma. The best place the president will hear what I have to say is where he works. So I am standing in front of it and telling the president, allow me to stand in the place where I say I will be, provide the security. That is your job. Provide the, we haven't said don't be there. Be there. Provide the security. Allow me to do what I want to do and say it at the president and go my way. When I'm done, you clean up. But to say that, to tell the president what I have to tell him, I should go down the road to Cantonment's post office to tell the president what I have to tell him, it doesn't make sense for people. That is not the essence of protest. Then everybody will stay home. But the gathering makes sense. The where of the gathering must make sense too. The where of the gathering matters, which is why the orientation must change when it comes to these things. It's sad what happened yesterday. We should see less of that as we claim our democracy grows.
We've been doing this for 30 years.
Yes, but we seem to be getting the loud part of it wrong, and seem to be just basically touting our election credentials as being the things that matter. Meanwhile, we know that it is not just about elections. These are the things. These are the calling cards. These are the judgments. This is when the people will tell you whether you are doing well or not. It's not just the ballot box where you can say, okay, if I do, vote me out. If I don't know. In the course of doing well or not, if the people are unhappy, they find ways to tell you we are unhappy. It is the police's job to then say, express what you want to express, where you want to express it. But stay out here.